Hello, welcome to another Gundam Operation 2 video. That is the new suit, the Hazel Owsla. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not too well versed on the AOZ suits, right? And yeah, we have yet another Advance of Zeta suit and another Hazel suit. Is this one as good as pretty much all the other ones? Well, we're going to figure that out. And before we go ahead and start, I do have two matches here for you. Maybe three, depending on how long ago. The first match here is actually going to be, I believe, the last match I did for my usual kind of matches for the day. And it was a pretty interesting one, because you get to see a little bit more of kind of the stealth on this suit. It's really kind of weird. We'll get into that. And, you know, it was a little bit slow during the mid part, but I think at the end where we start, you know, when aces get selected, there's a pretty interesting little comeback going on, right? So, hope you guys enjoy that part. And the second part is actually going to be my first match in this suit, or actually, I think my second match. I'll be playing with Arm, and we found some other teammates. We found Taru and Merrick on the enemy team on the Impact side. We're on A side, and we'll see how that goes, right? So... And, yeah, let's go ahead and get right to the stats now. This is a 550 General. You have 18,000 health with 20 ballistic resistance and 25 beam resistance. You have 20 melee resistance, 26 range strength, and 29 melee strength. 125 movement speed with 210 boost speed, 60 thruster gauge, and 69 turning speed. Nice. And for slots, you have 17 close, 12 mid, and 9 long range slots. Now, first things first here, I went ahead and gave myself a little bit more. I kind of had a typical build here. It's always the kind of build I always do for a new suit. I'm like, oh, what do I build for it, right? I gave it some beam resistance, I believe around 40, right? I gave it some high beam resistance. I gave us a little bit of melee resistance as well, and then I kind of just buffed up a little bit on the range and melee strength, get them around the 30 mark, right? 30, 35, and yeah, that worked pretty well. And I think I even have just a strictly melee build where I have more melee resistance and more melee strength. Didn't really touch the beam resistance at all. You know, obviously for the maps that kind of garnered that kind of a playstyle, which funnily enough, I believe the second match, or no, this first match, I'm actually using the melee build, funnily enough. But yeah, I mean, it works pretty good for me. And of course, since this thing does have skills that do involve your thruster gauge, you can go for a thruster gauge build if you want to, or you know, cooldown parts as well. So yeah, you got some pretty nice build ideas here, right? So that's pretty nice. And now we're going on to your primary weapons now. Starting off with your first primary weapon, you have the Long Blade Rifle, which is 2,200 damage with 6 rounds and 500 range. Yeah, this is a basic stunning weapon, but it has a lot of range on it. Again, 500 range. Definitely, that's sniping territory, and that's a sniping weapon that you can move while using. You don't have to stand still for it. You can just move normally. You know, you can't boost while using it, of course. Just walking around and using it, which is pretty nice to have. You know, you can poke at a distance. You know, of course, if you can't get in close, you can just again you can poke. You got enough rounds for you. Have 6 rounds, but unfortunately, it doesn't penetrate. Which honestly, I thought it would from the looks of it at first, but no, it's just a basic stunning weapon, so it's fine. You know, it got a lot of range on it, and you know it does do the job. You want to stun? There you go. And for your primary melee weapon, you have the H. Owsla Beam Saber, which is 2,200 damage. I believe the neutral swing is the same that's on the other Hazel units, that little slash upwards, right? The downswing, I believe, is actually unique. Now, at first, I thought it was like something similar to the double Zetas, because of the way it kind of like lurches forward to swing that Beam Saber down, but it is actually different, and you can steer it from left to right, kind of like some of those other kind of weapons where you can do that, or downswings, I should say. Does some pretty good damage, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the beam saber. It does what you expect it to. Although at times I feel like for how big the windup is, it does feel like it doesn't hit as much as sometimes I want it to. Although then again, in the second match, you'll see me use it to hitting people like off of edges and stuff. So it has its uses, right? Now we're on to the secondary weapons. Starting off, you have the Missile Pod, which is 250 damage. With 12 rounds, 250 range. Now, this thing actually shoots 2 rounds at a time. So, I believe, technically, since you shoot 2 missiles at a time, it's very, very close. It looks like it's shooting 1 at a time, right? But you are shooting 2, and technically that means it takes 3 hits to stun. But that does mean you're using half your rounds to get a stun. Now, it is pretty quick, though. You can use these while boosting. They're pretty good stun accumulation-wise. Again, it takes 3 of those hits to stun. I say 3 hits because the missiles are so close together that it pretty much, to me, it feels like just one round. Now, if these were spread apart, right, that would be a little bit more dubious, but yeah, it does take 3 hits essentially to get a stun. And again, you can boost while using these, and they can set up for a stun situation where you can follow up with your melee. Because again, you can boost towards somebody, pull out your melee, go for a combo, or use this and then go into your long blade rifle if you're too far away to go into melee. So yeah, nice little, just a simple little stun accumulation weapon, right? Although, of course, if you're fighting a suit with damage control, it's going to take more shots, unfortunately, and that will take more than half of your rounds. So if you're going for, if you're perfectly spacing your stun accumulation here, you're not going to get a second one, unfortunately, if you're fighting suit damage control. But it's worked fine for me so far. And of course, if you find yourself in a situation where maybe you haven't used them yet, you can use them during downswing combos, all that good stuff, right? So yeah, it's got multiple uses, pretty nice. And of course, if you're hitting like a raid, it does do some pretty good chunking damage. Next weapon here is the Heat Blade, which is 2,400 damage. This is your secondary melee weapon. Now, the spoiler skill, you do have melee, a melee combo controller, which gives you 2 melee swings. However, the Heat Blade here does not have that. You only get 1 swing. Now that's for good reason, because this does have the ability to topple enemies over on the ground. So yeah, you have a toppling weapon. So you can use this to start off your combo to get somebody on the ground, or because it does do a lot of damage, especially on the downswing, you can use your regular beam saber and then combo into the Heat Blade, because it does have a longer cooldown time between swings. So you can use that for a follow up and then go back to your beam saber again for extra damage, right? But I suspect a lot of people will use it just to set up for situations like, you can definitely use it to run up to somebody, slash them, they're on the ground, your teammates are behind you, you can go into the next person, have your team follow up on that, on the person you just swung, right? So there's some nice little things you can do with this. The downswing, I should mention, is a sliding downswing, and you can tilt this left to right a little bit. It does have a ridiculous range on it because of how big the Heat Blade is. You can catch some people off guard, but don't rely on that, because if they just see you, it has wind up time. So don't just throw it out, right? Unless the enemy you're fighting just does not want to tackle. So, and again, does some pretty damn good damage, especially if you're doing a melee build. And now we're on to the next secondary weapon here. That is the Chaff Dispenser, which is 0 damage, 4 rounds, and 5 range, which, okay, this is actually your stealth option for this suit. Now, it's very similar to other stealth options that, or smoke dispensers, I should say, that other suits like the Ifrit or the Hidolfer have. Now, those suits only use it like once, and they last for a good bit, right? Now, this suit, it can actually rapid fire these chaff dispensers. Like you can go boom, 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 right? But it doesn't last very long. Like a couple of seconds, really. If you noticed from the first match, I was just constantly using them while I was underground at the beginning of the match, because I know if I'm not paying attention, I can be spotted immediately on somebody's radar. So yeah, you definitely want to keep an eye out if you're going to be using this constantly, to make sure to watch your little stealth meter, right? It'll tell you when you're stealth, or it'll tell you if you're stealth, and also give you a slight defense buff as well. So honestly, you can even use these as a way to take less damage if you want to. I'm not sure how far or how much defense you get out of it, but it does say you get a slight defense buff, which is interesting. Of course, this can be used for just ambush tactics as well, or just I think at one point, actually no, I don't think I have it in these 2 matches, but there was a match I had where I was using it to, I think I was in space, and I think this is where these chaff dispensers become really great, where because of the way space is, it's omnidirectional, right? You can downswing somebody or combo somebody, and immediately hit the chaff dispenser, and because you have all those directions in space, it's really hard for somebody to determine where you're at. And I think that's where the a huge upside for this weapon is. And of course, since you can rapid fire these, essentially, you can hit somebody, activate it, go to the next person, hit somebody, activate it again, and so forth, right? It's pretty pretty nice actually. I was kind of laughing it off at first. I think I even did that initial thoughts where it's like, okay, this is really really low. But even on ground, I've come to like just use these to kind of get myself kind of a constant stealth, right? Pretty nice if you can gauge when to use these and then go in, right? So honestly, yeah, I don't mind these at all. It's a little bit different from the typical, again, like I mentioned, the E-Free or the Hidolfer, where they activate it and they have stealth for a good amount of time, right? Or just a suit that has all stealth all the time, like the Pixie. But yeah, now we're on to the last weapon here, which is the Winch Cannon, which is 5,000 damage, 100% heat rate, 550 range. But this does require you to charge. Now, this you can move while focusing this weapon. Thank goodness. It does have a short. Actually, I shouldn't say thank goodness. It does have a low focus time, so it's not like ungodly long, right? So, and then of course you hit somebody, you do a good chunk of damage. Again, 5,000 damage, just base damage. So if you increase your range strength or if you're fighting a raid, yeah, that'll be chunking for quite a bit. And I believe the way this weapon works is you can easily, since it doesn't heavy stagger, I believe you can re-stun this with your long blade rifle. And of course that can lead to really, really nasty situations where you can combo, almost one combo somebody. Maybe even you can one combo somebody depending on the raid and what your melee strength is, honestly. So yeah, pretty nice. And of course, as we mentioned, the last weapon, the chaff dispenser, you can use that to help set up for the winch cannon. You go stealth, you set up the winch cannon. I believe by the time it is almost ready to fire, you'll get out of stealth. So of course you can set up behind somebody or whatnot and fire away essentially. Now you do have to stand still to fire though. I think I mentioned that already, but just in case, right? So it's fine. The heat rate is pretty long though, so it's not going to be something you'll be hitting constantly. So make sure when you do hit your shot that you're aiming and you're going to hit that shot, right? All right, and then finally you have a shield. That is the shield booster, which has 5,000 health and is considered a large size shield. Now, oftentimes it feels like it's not really a shield because of how big your body is, but it does work from time to time, And now we're on to the skills. You have Shock Absorber level 3, you have Quick Boost level 2, you have Leg Buffer level 2, you have Blast Stabilizer, you have Balancers. I should also mention Blast Stabilizer. That's when mobile suit explosions do not affect you. You do not get heavy staggered by them. You have Melee Combo Controller, but only for your Beam Saber, not for your Heat Blade. You have Force Injectors level 2. You have Back Add-on Buffer level 3. I believe that is just considered the Hazel 2 backpack part of you, right? Or what is from the Hazel 2. I'm not sure if that counts the Winch Cannon, but that is 30% less damage when you get hit there, which honestly can save your life half the time. You do have radar. You do have shield booster. Now this is what the same skill that is on the Hazel Custom, and what this does is it gives you maneuver armor. As long as you have your shield and it's not destroyed, you will get maneuver armor, and you'll get more booster. Right? You'll get more booster, more more boosting speed. And since this thing does have 210 boost speed, this will add another 15, so you will have 220. So you'll be around where a lot of these suits are at this cost, which is pretty nice. Now, of course, that means if your shield gets destroyed, you don't have maneuver armor anymore. So you have to be really careful how you want to keep your shield around, right? Thankfully, I haven't had my shield destroyed too many times. But even if you do get that shield destroyed, you do have this next skill here, Quick Turn. Quick Turn has been on a few suits already, like I believe the Hazel 2, the Nero Trainer, and for a support, the Xanthos, where since this suit doesn't have a dodge roll, unfortunately, this is kind of a makeshift one, where if you press the touchpad while you're boosting, you will do, a quick turn. You'll do a 180, and you can do whatever you want after that. Now, however, there is a caveat to this. You will take more damage when you do the quick turn, so you don't want to be doing this in front of the whole enemy team, right? So it can be really useful for like 1v1 situations, or trying to absorb a instant stun if you have, again, like if your shield's destroyed, you don't have any maneuver armor, or maybe have somebody, because it does tank stuns. Kind of like with the Nero Trainer, where you can boost up to somebody with your melee out, and if they do a tackle, well, hey, you can just quick turn if you read it correctly, right? And of course, you can lead into situations where if you have your Heat Blade, you can quick turn and then immediately, well, do your melee, and somebody will get knocked down because of it. So yeah, it's fine. And finally, you have Overboost. Now, I believe one other suit has this at this cost, and that is the Stark Jagan. And what this does is if you overheat, actually no, the Star Jagan has EX boost. My bad. Completely different suit. So what Overboost does is if you overheat your thruster gauge, you can press the boost gauge. You can press the boost button again, and you'll get 10 seconds of unlimited boost gauge. And so you can boost, you can use your force injectors, you can use quick turn however many times as you want, or as you can fit into 10 seconds. This can be really useful for getaways, or especially in space. That's going to be really useful in space. Or, just running around willy-nilly on enemies, right? So you already got the thruster gauge you can build for, plus another 10 seconds of unlimited thruster gauge. So you can keep yourself boosting around quite often, which is pretty handy to have with a suit like this where you got like a knockdown weapon and stealth, right? So pretty nice set of skills there. And yeah, that'll lead into the pros and cons for the Owsla here. And starting off with the cons, you do not have a dodge roll. Now obviously that can be pretty bad if you're not a experienced enough player, to where if you're at a high cost where multiple suits at 550 have multiple instant stuns, and even some have really good stun accumulations, it's going to be really hard to play if you're not used to this kind of suit, right? If you do not have a way to get out of things, right, you can get bullied pretty easily. Or unfortunately, because of latency in this game, which happens quite often to me in this game, it can almost make the suit kind of really just absurd to play, where you can even be boosting using your maneuver armor and you'll still get stunned, which kind of makes me not want to play this suit, to be honest, especially at 550. In my opinion, I feel like I can do a little bit more with some suits that have more stun options, but also a dodge roll, maybe maneuver armor. I think some of them even have maneuver armor still. So to me, that's just me, though. I know there's some suits out there that people like to play that are very similar to this. But yeah, no dodge roll can be kind of a pain, and latency can really fuck you over because you have no dodge roll. Which I guess would lead into another downside here, is that basically your maneuver armor is tied to your shield skill, or your shield, I should say, where if your shield gets destroyed, you don't have maneuver armor, and you go back down to 210 boost speed. So you end up being slower because of it. So again, if you're not very careful, actually that would probably make people want to target your shield even more, because they know that your shield, I believe this is even something for people who do against Hazel Customs, where they will purposely, target the shield and make it to where the Hazel doesn't have any of the benefits anymore, which that can be kind of a viable strat. So you have to be really careful around people that have like really high damaging weapons. But again, if those get destroyed, you have no maneuver armor. Another downside, this thing does have some weaker legs. So if you're not careful, people can bust your legs pretty fast. Even more so if they have like leg breaking parts. So not a fun time. Not a fun time at all. If you're not careful with the suit. But I think that's all I can think of immediately. So I guess I'll say, I should also mention that stun accumulation suits will also be effective against you since you don't have maneuver armor. I mean, damage control, my bad. Damage control makes it to where if a suit that has, let's say they stun you with 2 beam hits, well, now it'll take more than 2 beam hits. This suit doesn't have that, so if you got to be careful around suits that do have really good stun accumulation, because again, you don't have a dodge roll. But that leads us into the pros for this suit. And starting off the pros, you do have some really nice weapons on this suit here. The long blade rifle, even though it's a very basic stunning weapon, it does have 500 range, which can be really good for poking, especially on the bigger maps. The missile pod can be really useful for just nice stun accumulation. You can boost while using it. The heat blade, of course, is a toppling weapon. Does do some pretty good damage. The winch cannon can nail you for some pretty good damage as well. And of course, the chaff dispenser here, the stealth for this suit is really, honestly, quite nice. Again, I mentioned that I was kind of laughing it off, but once you start using that more frequently, and you know how to use them, you can do some really nasty hit and run tactics with that, or just keep evading an enemy on their radar, right? So pretty nice set of weapons. You just have to be careful of certain suits, like those that have high damage control and whatnot, or those with maneuver armor. Another pro is that the shield skill does give you maneuver armor. Speaking of maneuver armor, that allow you to absorb instant stuns, so you're not getting just bullied every time you try to boost towards somebody. Because again, you don't have a dodge roll. So that's pretty nice, just to have that, and you do get faster boost speed because of it. I believe you actually become even more faster in space since you have space affinity on this suit, which is pretty nice. Anything else? You do have some nice skills with like blast stabilizer, some balancers. I mean that should be on every suit this cost at this point for general wise, so it's not really too much of an upside. The back add-on buffer does actually saved my ass quite a few times. The 30% less damage on your back is pretty nice, because that's going to be a lot of times you will get hit there, more often than not, where somebody might accidentally clip your backpack because how big you are, but hey, at least you'll take 30% less damage from it, so pretty good. Quick turn is a really useful skill. Since you don't have a dodge roll, you can just evade stuns just by boosting and pressing the touchpad button. You do take more damage, but if you're really good at spacing it, or when you need to use it, you can use it in a way to where it'll benefit you quite a lot. And that goes back from the other suits that do have that skill, like the Xanthos. It really worked out for the Xanthos. It really certainly works out for the Nero Trainer. So I have no problem seeing people use the skill just fine with this suit. And you also have Overboost, which is again a really fantastic skill for this, for when you need to get in or get out. Just be careful though, because if you do lose that shield, that can make it really hard to get away if you're planning on using Overboost to get away. Oh, I forgot to mention, Overboost does make it to where if the 10 seconds are up, you will basically go into a heavy stagger leg break animation. Actually, no, just a leg breaking animation, where if your legs are broken before and you try to boost, you'll do that animation where you fall over on your hands and knees, right? You do the same thing here. So I forgot to mention that. That's my bad, but yeah, that's what Overboost does at the end of 10 seconds. But that still doesn't neglect the usefulness of the skill, especially if you're in a place like space or whatnot, or trying to fight like. Pushing for your team, right? It can lead to some really disgusting situations. But that'll be it for the Hazel Owsla. And I gotta say, even though I'm not really a fan of playing this suit the way it's styled, because Latency does not really like me playing this suit, I can definitely see some really nice benefits the suit does have. The melee combos are great on this. The hit and run tactics are really amazing, especially with the chaff dispenser. The stealth options are pretty damn good. You do have some really nice skills. I know for a fact people that do play skills very similar to this are really going to enjoy this suit. And they're probably going to do really great with it. For me, though, I probably won't be picking this too much. Again, Latency really does not like me playing this suit. I'm sure you might have seen a situation or two in these two matches, certainly in some other matches where like I'll already be boosting a good chunk ahead of time, right, and I still get stunned by something, and my shield is still there. So it's a little bit troubling, where it's like, okay, I really enjoy what this suit offers, but I feel like I can play something else and be more effective. That doesn't mean that it won't be effective in your hands. So if you don't have an issue with these kind of suits, then yeah, go ahead and roll for it if you want to, especially if you don't have an AOZ suit. So far, all the Hazel units have been pretty fun to play, and I feel like they've been pretty nice as well. And it's another 550 one as well. I believe we have the Advanced Hazel for your support. We have the High Mobility type Hazel Custom for your raid. I was about to say the Hazel Custom, that's at 500, so now we have, this suit for the general. And not too bad. Again, especially if you know how to work these kind of suits. And that'll be it, and I will see you guys later. Bye.